Welcome back. Thanks for joining for part 3 of this composition study series for the movie Arrival. Let's jump right into the next frame for analysis here. So we are going to take a look at 1 hour, let's see here, 1 hour and 28 seconds. Let's get it down here. Just hit play here. I'm just going to pause it right here. So with this frame, this was just an interesting use of the rule of thirds. Let's go ahead and put up that overlay here. Let's turn this on, and you can just see right off the bat here that each of these different characters have been placed within a third of the image. But what's also interesting about this is that the thirds were also used to separate the background, where you have Forrest Whitaker's character walking into frame here, and then you have Jeremy Renner's character Ian here. He is the focus here, and he is in the midground, and then you have Luis's character here, who was in the foreground. And just again another cinematography technique to create depth in the image. You can definitely tell that, Ian is the focus here in this particular shot. But I just thought it was interesting that they also use thirds to not only isolate each individual character, but each individual character is also contributing to the foreground, the midground, and the background. Let's take a look at the next shot, and let's go ahead and turn this off here. This is another example of leading lines. Let's go ahead and bring up the center rays here, but actually going to change the opacity to 0.25 here. And I'm going to scale this in the X direction here, just to kind of bring attention to this portion of the image here. We'll scale it along the Y. We stretch that down, and let me offset this in the Y direction as well, just to kind of see where our attention is being drawn to, which is this brighter portion of the image over here. In this frame, this screen here, or this portion of the screen, is the brightest portion of the image. So my eye does tend to land there. But before we even get there, there are all of these different leading lines. And let me just turn this off for just one moment here. And as you can see here, you have this line of people that are sitting at the desk here. You have this line of desktop monitors that are pointing in this direction here. You have all of these cases here that are lined up behind the monitors that are pointing in this direction. You have this pop-up tent here, and you have all of this infrastructure, this cabling and this wirings, and even along the roof side here, it looks like there's some ventilation here. That's all pointing in this direction or this portion of the screen. And then all the characters are congregating here to have their next conversation. So when I go ahead and put this back on here, and let's actually, we'll take that down again, just so that we aren't blowing things out here. You can just kind of see how all of these different elements within the image line up to land in this portion of the image. Again, a great way of helping to lead our eyes to the point of interest in the image. And I think it's really well done here by using all of these different elements that are contained within the image. Let's go ahead and turn off the overlays here, and let's take a look at the next frame, which is going to be at, let's see here, 1 hour, 5 minutes and 55 seconds. So let's drag this a little bit further ahead, 1 hour, 5 minutes. And we get play here. And actually, this is a perfect frame right here. Now, what I found for the use of this image was the golden ratio. We're going to go ahead and turn this on. Let's put this at 0.5 here. And as you can see here, you have Luis landing right on this vertical line within the phi grid or the golden ratio here. Generally, this is just a beautiful shot. You have this point of focus on the lit portion of Luis's face here. Again, she's on the side of the image that is closest to the edge of the frame here. Her leading space is much less than the trailing space that's behind her. Again, that can help to bring about some sort of attention and mystery in terms of what it is that she's looking at. And you have all of this negative space around her here, especially in this back portion here where it gets darker here. It just allows you to really focus on her, what she's looking at, and what she's doing here. A really simple but effective use of the golden ratio. Let's move on to the next frame. I think it's a part of this entire shot sequence here. Let's go ahead and turn this off here. This next shot is at 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 35 seconds. We're going to draw this or drag this here, 35, till we get right. And it's this, and then this is actually the shot here. With this one, this was just about symmetry. We have her dead center. We have a nice tight close-up on her face. And she's just trying to understand what it is that the heptapods are currently writing on the screen. If I go ahead and just turn this on here, you see this lands perfectly down the center of her face. And again, a nice symmetrical shot, really brings focus and attention to Louise, what she's doing and what she's looking at. And she's also the brightest portion of the image as well. So our attention is drawn to her expression. And for the next frame, I'm actually going to leave up this vertical line here that's coming down the center here, because we have a reverse angle on her at, let's see here, 1 minute or 1 hour, 6 minutes and 36 seconds, which is just a few frames ahead. And, you know, this is one of those iconic Bradford Young shots for this film. And it's just a really, really interesting shot. He uses both symmetry and natural framing. You have the writing on the barrier here from the heptapods that is framing Louise's head here. Louise is obviously dead center, creating some nice symmetry between the two heptapods that are shown on the left and right side of the image here. It feels really well balanced. But there's also a little bit of symbolism in here, as well as Louise's character. You know, she is, you know, the key to kind of completing the cipher in the messaging that the heptapods have communicated. And this is symbolized with Louise's head intersecting with the writing here. And then just a few frames ahead, this moment where she turns her head here, this is also another iconic shot. Again, a balanced image, slightly different perspective that has the same sentiment. You know, it really does. Again, symbolizes Louise's place in the present, in the future, literally creating a full circle moment for humanity. And I just overall love the shape of this, the way that the writing intersects with the bun on her head here for her hair, the way the other side of it intersects, you know, coming right between her nose and her eye here. Just this entire frame here is just a really interesting shot. So let's go ahead and turn this overlay off and move to the next frame, which is at 1 hour, 10 minutes and 47 seconds. Now, I really thought this was a very intriguing shot. You know, in this one, you can see that quadrants are being used. The lower left quadrant is the brightest portion of the image that has the heptapods in it. If I go ahead and turn this on, let's put it on the quadrants and the crosshair that we have here. And throughout this entire shot, if I hit play here, you see that the heptapods are kept in this lower left quadrant. It's also the first time the heptapods are like the smallest and shortest characters in the frame. And it for me, it disarms the fact that they are actually 7 times the height of a human. You know, they appear less ominous, and it really kind of matches well with this sort of soon-to-be realization of their sort of well-intended visit. They don't seem like monsters. And I think this is some sort of a transition, you know, in terms of how we're viewing the heptapods and what their intentions are for their visit. Let's go ahead and turn off the overlay for that. And we have just one more shot I want to take a look at here. And that is at 1 hour, 31 minutes and 50 seconds. So let's go ahead and scroll to there. 1 hour, 31, and it's actually 1 hour, 39 minutes and 51 seconds. Just such an interesting shot here. You know, obviously you have Luis here in the lower right-hand corner. And I actually initially evaluated this frame with a spiral. If I go ahead and turn on and put the spiral here, let's mirror the spiral to the other side. And you can see here that Luis's character is, or rather Luis herself, is the start of the spiral here. And then it just opens up into all of this negative space here. And then because she's also being cut off right between her legs here, I feel like Bradford Young was trying to communicate the scale and the size of the heptapods here, which are kind of like hidden here behind this fog here. Again, just a really nice shot that shows some depth and scale. So that's it for part 3 of this composition study for Arrival. We have one more set of frames to go through. If you'd like to play around with your own sort of compositional analysis, please feel free to download my Camera Composition Overlays version 2 plugin, available on both Fab and Gumroad.com. And I'll be back shortly to do the last part of this composition study series. See you soon.